You on a plane that you were told, as it turns out incorrectly, was headed for Washington.
Right. That's correct.
What's that moment like?
Well, it was necessary. And it was frankly, I didn't pause to think about it very much. Because once one of those aircraft was hijacked, it was a weapon. We'd seen already, by that time, 3 of them go in to the Pentagon and the World Trade Center in New York. As a result, thousands died, and if we had been in a position to intercept one of those, to keep it from striking its target, would we have done it? Absolutely. And what I did was pass on the President's approval of the basic proposition that we would, in fact, authorize our people to shoot down aircraft that had been hijacked and refuse to divert. So I saw it as part of my responsibility, but I did it quickly because we had a lot of other things we were doing at the same time.
The criminal enterprise ultimately seeks only the videotape recording itself as proof of a prior boast. For example, flying hijacked passenger aircraft into skyscrapers or military or government buildings, and not be found out. This compilation of recorded video and witness testimony is presented to show how each air weapon event occurred during the Clinton administration approved, General John Shilly-Kashvili instituted War Games Stand Down of Force order, allowing Canada to command North American airspace during an ongoing annual joint air war exercise, Global Guardians and Vigilant Guardian. This allowed 3 of 4 weapons to reach their targets. 1 did not. The pattern of the enterprise was nearly revealed in the late afternoon, when apparently scripted statements prematurely announced the collapse of World Trade Center 7 some 20 minutes before it happened, along with early injected false signatures as altered cockpit recorded messages presumed to be broadcast from Flight 93 provided to the media. This action of spinning the public opinion is part of the pattern of the criminal enterprise, connected by the similar methods by unusual supporting evidence, such as red team headbands after a fiery crash, and Arab passports miraculously found at crash sites after the combustion of thousands of gallons of jet fuel. All the events of the day were followed by the methodical introduction of convenient evidence to support the terrorist angle, all the while removing evidence to garbage dumps and foreign smelters to prevent evidence discovery by chemical analysis. The pattern of the enterprise has been identified and developed by the forensics economists of Hawks Cafe. The 5 events have 5 coordinated operational functions: to spot and track a target, to shoot, or rather videotape the attack for future use, to snuff and destroy a target by various weapons, to spin the event using the media to cast false testimony on the innocent, to spoil conclusions, adding or removing evidence to support the spin to change the public perception of the hit. The 5 events employed very special weapons not easily commandeered, yet all can be connected to the same criminal enterprise by the pattern of the enterprise and in the execution of the functions of the pattern. It can be said confidently that for all the attacks to be part of an international criminal activity performed in plain view on the national stage, it will require years of preparation during previous administrations of the United States government to put such an enterprise in place well in advance of the day of execution of the operation. It would without a doubt take a professional level of knowledge of the secure operations of American and Canadian military and commercial airspace. And under the administration of Bill Clinton, Dr. John Deutz lost 14,000 pages of classified CIA files while using them at his home. Clinton pardoned him on his way to the Bush inauguration less than an hour before leaving office. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Shilly-Kashvili, rewrote new operational orders allowing for a handover of American airspace to the Red Team attackers in the June Air War Games of 2001, Amalgam Virgo. But Amalgam Virgo was also supported with inappropriate UN MOVIC weapons inspectors funded with $100 million provided by Saddam Hussein. It is now clear why. As an information gathering opportunity, it paved the way to transfer the knowledge for Global Guardian, another bigger war game in September. It would take having correct encryption keys to break into military comlinks and nodes. And under the Clinton administration, Bruce McConnell gave our encryption key codes to foreign powers, allowing penetration of our secure communication systems to acquire targets, track them, and eliminate them, and the covert monitoring of cell phone communications by Al-Qaeda and others using Iridium, the system that is currently being used by the American and British military, managed by Boeing Canada and McDonnell Ditweiler Association, at the Canadian Satellite Hub at Gatineau, Quebec. It would take QRS-11 installed flight control modules for out-of-the-pilot's control command of passenger jets already in place before their use. And during the Clinton administration, Pentagon Procurement Officer Darlene Druyan and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Chilikashvili, funded the development of the QRS-11 triaxial remote guidance system called JPALS for the Air Force. Boeing sold QRS-11 avionics modules embedded in 96 737 passenger jets illegally to China in 2000. And in 2002 was caught by Lufthansa Airlines after installing these triaxial systems illegally in German passenger jets. Boeing aircraft with this system pre-installed do not need pilots on board to fly the aircraft. It would take a team of thousands to spin and spoliate evidence. Organized labor under the influence of the Montreal-based Rizzuto crime family provided for this workforce of American truckers, American postal workers, American airport security employees, American air traffic controllers, with Montreal Engineering Company employees, by maintaining union bank accounts in Canadian private equity pension funds out of U.S. oversight, but still able to be awarded cleanup contracts secured through the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management in New York City, the office of the Honorable Rudy Giuliani. This level of knowledge precludes external groups with limited resources. And 6 days after 9/11, Osama bin Laden announced that he had nothing to do with it. But this story changed as the Pentagon and CIA began releasing poorly made, unclear images of actors imitating bin Laden in follow-on terrorist videos. It is evident that a government-sponsored disinformation campaign had been instituted and used since 9/11 to maintain an official determination of fault. All the air weapons during Global Guardian were planned as decoy and drone attacks, but the flight paths reveal a curious coincidence. When examining the location of their radical course changes, they occur near military bases participating in the Global Guardian war game. Flight American Airlines 11 left Logan Airport in Boston and flew northeast, and likely rendezvoused with a weaponized decoy east of the Needs Center launched from Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York. This was the base that was contacted by the FAA as the go-between to NORAD after the first hijacking was realized. The first attack of the day was filmed by only one film crew, the Canadian Naudet brothers, during the filming of a documentary. The Naudet's location, a street blocked by 2 fire trucks and a postal truck next to the post office across from the AT&T Communications building, had an unobstructed view of the impact site on the North Tower face. It was also an ideal spot to paint the impact point with a laser. They had in place the spotter, perhaps the mail truck blocking the street, and the weapon was in flight to perform the snuff. Here is their lucky shot. When you examine the videotape, the shooter points his camera dead center on the target, not the weapon, as if knowing exactly where to focus his camera. The Al-Qaeda story was released during the morning to spin the event, followed with pictures of the terrorists and passports planted at the scene. Suspiciously, and far too convenient an explanation. Later, the Union labor crews hosed the dust into the storm drains, removing and spoliating evidence of the event. In the meantime, Naudet was moving his film crew over to the World Trade Center 7, as if knowing something was going to happen there later in the day. The second Canadian film crew was in New York, filming for the Quebec New York Festival event, and was working with Montreal Brainware. But 1 week later, his footage was being shown as an exclusive by Radio-Canada. Once again, the camera crew location and Canadian crew was in ideal locations to film unobstructed close-up footage of the target being hit. And the air weapon made the same type of radical course change as it neared McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, where it rendezvoused with its weaponized drone. Its target was the global reinsurance company Aeon Corporation in the second tower, killing 178 employees and its global business, while assuring double occurrence on the World Trade Center insurance policy for maximum payout. But this time, after the weaponized drone was filmed hitting the target, the United Airlines Flight 175 decoy was captured by an independent film crew flying away from the scene. The scene, as filmed by the Canadian film crew, once again does not track the plane as it is flying overhead. Instead, it keeps the camera trained on the impact site. But the independent not only records the decoy flying off, it also records the laser targeting the building face as the airplane seeks its impact point. And when the sequence is analyzed, the shooter is waiting for the plane to meet his pre-identified target spot on the face of Tower 2. Not the building burning in the background. The camera is waiting centered on the impact site. Again, later in the day, the fomented spin, complete with pictures of terrorists on the 4 different flights, present the events of the day as a random terrorist attack by planting passports and other items to support the spin. Later still, the labor unions hosed down the dust into the storm drains, and over the next 8 weeks, moved the evidence to Fresh Kills landfill on Staten Island and onto ships leaving for China and India to smelters, removing and spoliating evidence. On the Pentagon hit, the commercial crew has not come forward or been identified, but footage was removed from several locations once the 4th plane failed to reach its target. But the footprint of the pattern is evident by the event and its operations. Again, the weapon leaves an airport. It makes a radical turn near an Air Force base, playing the Global Guardian war game, and flies back to target, directly to the Navy wedge of the Pentagon, into the office of Captain DeCanto, talking on the phone to Admiral England. An easy spotter location was across the street, directly facing the impact point, the Navy Annex. This location is ideal for targeting the impact site by the spotter. The shooter could have also been at this location, but several items were confiscated by the FBI, one in particular from the roof of the Sheraton National Hotel directly west of the Navy Annex and overlooking its roof with a clear shot of the impact site on the Navy wedge of the Pentagon. Many claim that a 767 did not hit the wall of the Pentagon, and in this reconstruction, a 767 to scale should have looked like this as it flew across the lawn and into the building.
Okay, so that would be their invisible wave energy weapons, basically to cause heat and to burn. That's all that is. You know, they've had that since like the 1910s. Basically. That's why it just burns everything down. Because it's not normal fire. Like, it's not normal. It's invisible wave energy. So, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Oh, you know, if you look up the not the melting point of iron, but look up the dustification point of iron. It's different. So with the melting point, that's when iron turns into liquid. But with the dustification point, look up when iron turns into gas. And you see what temperature it has to be.